Hello and welcome to Yammers, a podcast like every other podcast, yet unique and completely original, unlike any other podcast, except of course your favorites, which Yammers truly seek to become among. I'm your host, Arturo Hammer the Only, and I come forth to engage with those of interest with an interest in engaging with me, trusting you will find such engagements interesting. Tonight on our Kickoff casting of pods, I'm thrilled and deeply honored to have a co-caster of such majesty and relevance that all that follow must necessarily reside in the shadow of, while aspiring to its lofty example. Our guest requires no introduction, but pretty much demands one, so I offer, ever so humbly, the unmoved mover, omniscient and omnipresent, creator of all things, God.
Well, thank you, Arturo. It's a real pleasure being here.
Thank you.
Love your place.
Love your place.
Beyond the fact it could use some serious upkeep, I'm pretty pleased with it.
It was good,
but not great.
Half-assed.
Some places one should not cut corners.
Dull subject should avoid sharp objects.
Good point. Edgy.
Thank you. So, jumping right in, God isn't so much a name as a descriptor.
Exactly, a job title rather than a proper name. Jefe, boss, pimp daddy as opposed to Bob for something.
So do you have a proper name?
Bob. Just kidding. I don't really talk to anybody, so there's no need to address me. And as you no doubt know, writing this and all, names tend to be affixed, and so I didn't have a mummy or daddy, at least in a conventional sense, there was really no need.
Sounds like a lonely existence.
Guarding isn't for everyone. To be fair, it isn't for anyone.
What would you say is the hardest part?
Followers. Their professed loyalty is all outcome-oriented. They want to be saved or chosen or to smite others, so they offer performative piety to convince each other they believe in my goodness without understanding who really needs to be convinced.
Their faith is more about impressing their friends than impressing you.
Precisely, which suggests they don't believe in me so much as appreciate the benefits pretending to believe in me provides.
Well, to be fair, you don't put in a lot of appearances.
I'm God, not an influencer. The universe is considerably larger than the interwebs or the human experience. And to be fair in return, proving my existence to people who literally believe in anything would be pointless. Like doing a complex interpretive dance for a little doggy that watches with rapt attention, then goes back to licking his crotch as soon as you're done.
That is some kind of imagery. I'll take a little break here and shill for some of my illustrious sponsors and make the mandatory beg for subscribers so I can buy a new pencil. As an under the influencer of no little note and much littler following, I necessarily spend a lot of time sitting on my ass. Though on who else's ass I'd be sitting is a question all its own. Because influencing isn't about doing, it's about talking about doing. Kind of like politics without all the pedophilia. And given the option, like most influencers, I prefer doing nothing while seated. Because in its own way, standing is still doing something. And that is not the way of the influential. Oh no. As my original perch was purchased by someone so I could afford extra pixels for you, dear viewer, I scurried figuratively right over to Cherry Cheriton's Seats of Power and found this elegant and super comfy beaut, the Noble Mind Overthrown. Doubtless some will wonder how much a fine butt cradle of such intrinsic majesty and yet subtle aesthetic charm costs. And as it was provided to me for the promotion I accorded, I can't really say with any qualification. But I know, speaking for my butt, it's worth every penny. Jerry Chariton's seats of power, they got your backside.
The headset and mic's a nice touch.
Definitely more in tune with the standard. We're back podcasting with God.
Godcasting.
Yes, casting my pearls before God, hoping someone will applaud. Maybe you should be running this. Nobody knows who I am.
I'm content to bask in your obscurity. Helps me maintain my own.
You covet obscurity.
I'm the creator. But in humanity's endless quest for a father that isn't a complete asshole, religion invented me as the big daddy of the world, and people have been trying to borrow money from me ever since.
Borrow money?
Borrow, invent, replace me with. Religions are run by some of the richest and most powerful men in history, and much as the politicians who followed their leads, these are people who gain the world not by doing stuff, but by talking about stuff. Usually stuff they know nothing about.
Like God.
Exactly. Harkening back to my earlier statement about revealing myself to people who believe in things they know are implausible, impractical, and impossible. An exercise in futility. In your technological upheaval, humankind has created an image of reality so disconnected from the reality people inhabit that people question the very fabric of what is real.
By getting us to question our sanity, we're less inclined to question theirs.
Correct. When nothing is as it seems, everything seems unbelievable. And people look to masters, oracles, priests, pastors, mullahs, shamans, and influencers for answers. Being the keeper of the answer, even the wrong answer, empowers humans who should not be empowered.
It is suggested that by enshrining Aristotle as the font of human wisdom, science was set back for millennia.
Elegantly highlighting the simple fact that the smartest of humans can be wrong, and frequently are.
So how are we to know anything?
Experience. The way you can know something is to live it, to do it, to make it manifest. Your media presents stories, not written by people who live them, but by people who watched someone else's interpretation of them retold by someone who never left the sofa. Your storytellers aren't even qualified to tell their own stories.
A knockoff of a knockoff.
Yep, like the Bible, a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, reimagined, each rewriting. Even had there been some deep abiding wisdom in there, scribes cleaned it right the hell out.
Well, as you brought it up, would you like to talk about the Bible?
On Yammers, you pick the topics, Art. Just glad I can be here to help you kick it off. How are you feeling about it?
I'm stoked. What can I say? I thought I was going to have to interview my landscaper.
Jesus?
Armand. Jesus was my pole guy from A Charming Tale.
A fun story.
You read it?
Knows all, sees all, remember?
Sorry, as a mere mortal, I accept seeing little and knowing less.
Don't discount yourself, Art. There's plenty out there to handle that load. It's pretty clear to any who look, if you weren't such a brilliant writer, I wouldn't be here.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Not at all. In the Bible, people got all excited about Noah dreaming a conversation with me at 500 years old. Imagine how you'd respond to an 80-year-old who told you he had to hew an aircraft carrier-sized ship out of logs with his bare hands because God came to him in a dream. You're at least smart enough to have me show up in the flesh, so to speak.
You know what I say? Everybody prays. Atheists just realize we're talking to ourselves.
As atheists go, your advocacy for me in regard to the writings about me is refreshing.
It's one thing to worship a divinity that isn't there. It's another to present that divinity as imbecilic.
Kinda negates the whole point of worship when you could just revere a local idiot and save a lot of travel expense.
My atheism is rooted in presenting human religion as the continuously destructive force it is. As to the question of a higher power, it's beyond my grade.
And in that you hold God in higher reverence than any religious charlatan claiming to speak in my name, putting words in my mouth.
It's surprisingly easy to do. I'm just glad you're here clearing up any misconstrusions and such.
You caught me at a good time.
While we remain in the worst of times.
The human dilemma. You enshrined words as divine and continue destroying everything in existence over which one's best to tend your predetermined biases, talking the world to death.
Blah, blah, kablooey.
Not particularly reverent to God's creation.
The fact that fuels my atheism. If the God you worship created the earth, destroying it for some abstract wealth strikes me as a dubious way to show it.
Humanity. Dodgy tenants with dubious tenants.
I suspect the eviction notice won't be pay or quit.
The opposite. Quit or pay.
Guessing you won't take a check?
This is more a pound of flesh kind of debt.
I trust I'm good for it until the end of the show.
I won't be collecting, but I won't stop it either. I'm the creator. I'm not a cop or judge. Or your fucking daddy.
Ouch. Gotta admit, I didn't expect I'd have you use that kind of language.
Why? I created a biological system where everything fucks and eats each other. Given the current state of Western government, frequently in one sitting. You imagine me delicate?
That's not the first word that comes to mind, no.
The very nature of life is violence and upheaval. Creation ex nihilo is a ridiculous notion. To create, one must have material to work with. Talking the universe into existence with nothing but well-lit nothing and a side of water is utterly preposterous.
But humans went for it. Humans always go for it.
Suckers are a good story, or a bad one.
Especially a bad one.
So many bad ones.
Goes back to what you said about people with no direct experience writing about things they don't really know about.
Artifice instead of art. The battlefield wisdom of the armchair general. The surgical prowess of the physician who learned medicine watching MASH.
When you build upon weak foundations, collapse is inevitable.
Physics in action.
Intellect in action.
The man who would be king was the one who understood that those he would rule over could not be smarter than him. He was smart enough to know that. So education was for the classes loyal to the crown, and ignorance and superstition were how the poor were kept down.
Here in Trumplandia, idiocy is highly prized and promoted, while intellect is algorithmed into oblivion.
Certainly yours is. The amount of censorship someone of your degree of obscurity receives suggests you are perceived as a threat, albeit an unactionable one. Presently.
That's comforting. Presently doesn't lend itself to a sense of longevity.
You've had a fine run as lives go. You were ready to burst into flames at 18. Hell, before. Almost did at least a couple of times. How long do you want to live?
Like anybody with a still functioning body and mind, at least a little longer. Ad infinitum.
There's actually something fairly simple you can do to extend your longevity and even reverse aging. It's funny, no one's figured it out.
Definitely good stuff to know, and we'll come right back. But influencing comes with a cost, and right now I must pay my penance. If you'll bear with me, O Lord.